Okay, that bill will be on call, and we thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next up we have item number 5, which is Assembly Bill 2395 by Mr. Lowe. Mr. Lowe, the floor is yours. And Mr. Lowe has brought about 10 pounds of copper because he knows that the chair likes to recycle. And
well, I just want to make mention, with your permission, to be able to use props here, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
With the committee's acceptance. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members. I know we oftentimes say this, but I really would like to thank you, Mr. Chair, and your committee staff. I know that we had a number of conversations about how to strengthen this bill, and I think we've done a very good job in making sure that we can address as many issues as possible. So again, thank you very much for that. If you are using an iPhone, or if you text your family or friends, or if you regularly communicate on social media, which I know many of you do, you know firsthand that we all communicate in a different way, and it's dramatically changed over the past 40 years. As the internet has taken over the communications platform over the last century, the voice-only plain old telephone line, or POTS, is rapidly approaching irrelevance. The number of homes with these POTS-only lines in them is dropping each and every year. Since 1999, there has been an 85% decline in the number of homes using these landlines. And according to a new study, fewer than 1 in 10 residential households have these POTS lines anymore. There's another fact, which is that a majority of those folks in rural communities, like Mr. Dolly, or the elderly, for example, are not those that have these POTS or landlines. It's actually the wealthy Californians who have the second or third lines in their homes that don't give any thought. These individuals don't give any thought to paying additionally for their phone bills each and every month. Most Californians have already made the transition to IP-enabled and mobile technologies. They are opting for newer, better, faster technologies that allow them to communicate with anyone, anywhere, any way they want. Yet, as we know, our state telecommunications laws are still stuck in the past. These old laws mean that California has to keep the old plain old telephone network turned on as though it's running at full capacity, even though it serves only a fraction of the people it used to. But while California is on the cutting edge of many of these technologies, this is one area that we are woefully behind. Dozens of other states have already adopted this new technology and is already moving forward. California is being left behind without access to these features, which consumers have already adopted. That's why I've introduced this bill, because our state needs a policy for an orderly transition from the vestiges of the past and the outdated, underutilized POTS network to modem, fiber optic networks, and services. It's essential that we embrace these technologies so that many other states have already done so, and in joining them, because right now we have a 21st century economy operating on a 20th century IT network. Now, I've written this bill to ensure many safeguards, which I know that we've wanted to address, to ensure that this happens in an orderly, gradual, focused way that leaves no one behind in the process. First off, no transition can happen until at least 2020 at the earliest time frame. And before any telecom provider can begin this transition in 2020, they would have to do full education, outreach campaigns in multiple languages to all communities to provide customers with the information about the alternatives that exist and how to obtain them. Secondly, and most importantly, if a customer has no alternative service available, nothing can happen to their current service. Period. Again, if there is no alternative service available, they can keep their service, no exceptions. They keep their existing service until an alternative is made available. To ensure that consumers are provided with all the information available, no telecom provider can begin any transition, additionally, until the FCC certifies and approves an alternative service that is available to these customers. Finally, any alternatives must be confirmed also by the Public Utilities Commission. Members, this bill is an opportunity. It supports California's positions as the world's technology leader and the center of innovation and the economy, and nonetheless, and ultimately, a protection to our consumers. Now, I've brought with me a few individuals who wish to also speak in support of this bill. And first off, please allow me to introduce Ken McNeely, president of AT&T.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Ken McNeely, president of AT&T California, and thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of this piece of legislation. AB 2395 is a long overdue effort to modernize California's century-old telecommunications policy to reflect the realities of the advanced technology revolution and the changing consumer marketplace. This bill is not, as some have described it, an IP transition measure. Because whether this bill becomes law or not, the IP transition is already underway. As Assemblyman Lowe says, 85% of California households and businesses have already made the decision on their own to switch from plain old telephone service to advanced technologies, and that number goes up every day. The question before us today is whether the state of California is going to be prepared for this transition and whether consumers will have the education needed for smooth adoption. Are we going to encourage greater access to faster, more robust technologies for every community in California? Or will we sit on the sidelines forcing investment in an outdated 1950s copper wire legacy network while keeping certain communities of California stranded on islands of antiquated dial tone technology? AT&T, which connects more Californians than any other company in the world, is currently making the largest telecommunications infrastructure investment in the history of our state, creates more jobs both directly and indirectly than any other company in the industry, and is proud to be the largest employer of a union workforce in the country and the only significant union employer in the wireless and IP space. Strongly supports this bill because it strengthens our state's technology leadership, promotes a more advanced digital infrastructure for our economy, complements a parallel process occurring at the federal level, and establishes a clear and certain process to inform and protect all California consumers. Make no mistake, under this bill, AT&T will continue to provide plain old copper network telephone service within its current footprint, wherever, to whomever, for as long as better choices are not available to a given customer. No one will be left behind. No one loses voice service, not seniors, not rural communities, not lower income communities, not the deaf and disabled community, no one. A handful of opponents, most of whom have specific vested interest in keeping California tethered to outmoded infrastructure, have suggested consumer choices will be disrupted under this bill. Nothing could be further from the truth. The bill specifies that no consumer will lose service. Safe, reliable, alternative services must be available. One more thing. AB 2395 will enhance, not harm, public safety and 911 response. Any suggestion otherwise flies in the face of hard data. By any measure, when it comes to public safety and emergency preparedness, advanced services allow for faster, more available, more robust, more location-specific response than plain old telephone service. And it's not even close. Today, California is protected by the most effective public safety telecommunications infrastructure in its history. And last year logged more 911 calls than ever, all despite the fact that 85% of all California residents and businesses no longer use POTS to call 911. Why is this? New technologies allow for ubiquitous access that you simply cannot get from legacy POTS services. And it's not just everyday Californians who are relying on advanced services for public safety. It's first responders, too. Over the next 2 years, California will be transitioning to Next-Gen 911, which allows for faster, more detailed information, including texting, video, and pictures to firemen, police, and emergency services. According to California's Office of Emergency Services, these new applications will improve the operations and effectiveness of California public safety activities in life-changing and life-saving ways. Once again, under this bill, consumers must have an alternative advanced service which provides access to 911 and emergency services. No consumer will lose 911 reliability. Now, opponents wrongly suggest that the competitive landscape will be impaired. This bill has no effect on wholesale services and processes that enhance competition. It encourages investment in alternative services. They also suggest the bill will affect federal law or the FCC. The bill does not. Indeed, it cannot do that. Under this bill, more Californians will have access to advanced and efficient, valuable technologies than ever before. It is not a minute too soon to begin this process under smart policy. The bill creates order, preparation, and education instead of a regulatory free-for-all with its attendant uncertainty. 20 states within AT&T's wireline footprint have already prepared for this process. Members, AB 2395 is a thoughtful and necessary policy to approach the ongoing high-speed technology transition that keeps California ahead of the digital curve and ensures once and for all that no Californian gets left behind. It's about moving forward, not about taking anything away. I thank Assemblyman Lowe for his leadership, and we ask for your support.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the next witness in support.
Chairman Gatto, members, I'm Gary Passmore with the Congress of California Seniors, and I want to focus my efforts on that segment of the population because there's a lot of misinformation about us. For years, seniors were very slow to cross the digital divide. I acknowledge that. But today, they are flocking. They are literally flocking to embrace digital devices. 90% of older Californians have a mobile device. That's double what it was just maybe 10 years ago. The use of social media among seniors has tripled. 77% of seniors rely on a cell phone as their primary communications device. 3/4 of the 911 calls. 911 is literally a lifetime for older people. 75% of those calls occur from cell phones. So seniors now realize that technology keeps us healthier and safer. We've embraced it because we can see firsthand in our own lives how we benefit. The ability to Skype a grandchild that may live halfway across the world. Tracking appointments, using telemedicine, which is essential, or using social media to stay in touch with friends that we've made over a lifetime. There are people who still see grandma sitting in a rocking chair maybe by her rotary phone, and they'll tell you she can't afford new technology. Well, the fact of the matter is her rates are out of the picture here because the current rates aren't protected by the PUC. That is strictly a red herring. That ended 10 years ago. Some worry about disruptions of service during a transition, but this bill specifically requires that new service must undergo very intense technical review by the PUC and meet FCC standards. A few critics contend there's no reason to prepare now because the law doesn't even have effect until 2020. But a delay in creating the framework, which this legislation does, only increases the chances of disruption and makes it very hard to keep up with changing consumer demands. They say that providers won't protect consumer interests like the PUC, ignoring the fact that wireless and IP services are not under the purview of the PUC today. So what this bill does is that it doesn't change anything until new service is available and customers are prepared for those changes. How many of you remember or have been in this building since there were payphones all over the place in the building, right? And sometimes there were long lines of people waiting to queue up to use those. Today, the lines are gone and the phones are gone because the Capitol, years and years ago, maybe decades ago now, wisely recognized they needed to respond to consumer demands, and that's precisely what this legislation is trying to say. Seniors like to reminisce about the past. I do. But I don't want to live in the past. Very few seniors do. We want to move forward, and we want to prepare for the future. So I'm begging you, please don't leave millions of older Californians behind, trapped on some landline island. I'm sorry. Thanks. And we really strongly urge your support for AB 2395. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next witness.
Chairman, members, thank you very much. My name is Dave Roberts, and I'm the fire chief serving the communities of El Dorado Hills, Rescue, and Latrobe within El Dorado County. As a fire chief with over 30 years of experience in emergency services, including 15 years in the high-tech industry, I'm here to kind of offer a different perspective, possibly, and to share 3 things with you. First, I want to dispel the myth that traditional landlines are the best way to reach 911. That couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, today, 75% of 911 calls received are made from mobile devices because they empower the bystanders to make that 911 call immediately, and just for the simple fact that they actually have that device with them when the emergency happens. Second, during catastrophic events, the traditional copper-based landline phone infrastructure is typically one of the first points in the emergency points of failure in the emergency response communication system. I've witnessed this time and again at emergencies across California, including most recently when my department assisted in the response to the Butte fire. All traditional wire-based services were once again rendered inoperable by the fire, and first responders and residents alike relied solely on wireless services during and well after the fire. This was critical to preserving the safety of both responders and residents, and it once again proved the resilience of the IP-based services and highlighted the weakness and over-reliance on traditional landlines. Last, to save lives and reduce the impact of man-made and natural disasters, both residents in affected areas and emergency responders need to have access to real-time information and uninterrupted communications. As demonstrated time and again, this cannot be provided by the traditional voice-only copper network landline system. For these reasons, it's critical that emergency responders and residents alike upgrade to the more resilient IP-based services to properly ensure public safety in the event of another emergency. And in California, that other emergency is right around the corner. These facts, the inherent infrastructure weakness in landline systems, and the fact that most Californians residents no longer have traditional copper-based landlines can no longer be ignored, and require that we think differently about the future of emergency communications and not be held back by what worked in the past. I thank you very much, and for these reasons, we support this bill fully.
Thank you. So before we move forward with additional support and opposition, I just want to clarify, Mr. Lowe, that you are taking all the amendments in the committee analysis, because I think that affects some of the support and opposition. Wonderful. Thank you. Let's go to public comment in support. This is public comment in support of AB 2395. Please step forward.
Hello, the Society for the Blind urges support for AB 2395 in order to ensure equal access to information communications, and a better quality of life for the visually impaired community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julian Kennedy, California Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce, in support.
Laurel Brempum, El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce, in support.
Representing Women's Intercultural Network, offering our support. Thank you.
Hi, Mike Kobus, small business owner, El Dorado County. My business uses cell phones all the time. They're great. I urge your support.
Kavion Pickett and my group, CCC, we all vote yes for your bill. Please stand. Got you.
My name's Lisa Smoley, and I'm with Eschaton Foundation for Seniors, and we support the bill. And we have our group here as well supporting it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Thomas Reeves. I'm board member with the Modesto Chamber of Commerce, and the Modesto Chamber of Commerce does agree and concur with this bill, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lucille Back, and I represent CCN and APAPA, and we are in support of the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Liliana de Monge. I'm a small business owner in Southern California, and I also support AB 2395 so that we can help to work towards bridging the digital divide.
Good afternoon. Angie Minetti with the California Retailers Association, also in support. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Gina Lujan, Hacker Lab, and for Operation Innovate, and we support.
Greg DeGere with the ARC and United Cerebral Palsy California Collaboration, a coalition of people with intellectual and all developmental disabilities and their families, friends, and service providers, and we support the bill and thank Mr. Lowe for his leadership.
Bob Gutierrez, Vice Chair of the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the President-elect of the San Joaquin Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, in support of this bill for small business. Thank you.
Richard Fitzmaurice, the ARC of Alameda County. We serve people with special needs, and we support this bill. Digital access, easy digital access is critical for our population group. Thanks.
Good afternoon, John Doherty on behalf of TechNet, in support.
Good afternoon, Dion Nugent, Garden Valley Fire Protection District, in support of this bill.
Good afternoon, Sylvester Aguilar. I'm the current president of the San Joaquin County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, here to tell you that we're in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Kish Rajan with Cal Innovates, where our mantra is innovation empowering people, here in support.
Nicole Rice, California Manufacturers and Technology Association, also in support.
Hello, I'm Malachi Sekou Amen, President and CEO of the California Urban Partnership. Our mission is to build economic security in low-income communities and communities of color. We're in support of AB 2395.
Stephanie Nguyen, Asian Resources. We represent the immigrant, low-income, limited English refugee community, and we are in support of this.
Kathleen Soriano from the Sacramento Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce, in full support. Thank you.
Valerie Nero for the California Chamber of Commerce, in support.
Teresa Favuzzi from the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers, and we're in full support. Thank you.
Hi, Jean Cadallo, Executive Vice President of OCA Sacramento, and we support.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Jennings. I'm President and CEO of the Greater Sacramento Area, Greater Sacramento Urban League, and we represent 6 counties. We represent underserved communities in economic development and employment and training to have communities become self-reliant. We are in support of this bill. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy Rodriguez. I'm the President and CEO for the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here in support of this bill.
Jamie Malhire with the Child Abuse Prevention Center, in strong support of this bill. Thank you.
My name is Tony Vernon from the California State NAACP, and we're in support.
Good afternoon, Cornelius Burke with the Bay Area Council, representing the Bay Area business community, in strong support of this bill.
Chris Rosa on behalf of the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, in support.
Ofa Mann, President of TOFA of Sacramento, serving the Pacific Islander community in the Sacramento region. We are in support of this bill. Thank you.
Marianne Ellison, representing Flowering Hope, Executive Director, but also partner with Women's Intercultural Network, and we are also in support of the bill. Thank you.
Jasmine Casas on behalf of St. John's Program for Real Change, in support of the bill. Thank you.
Hello. Olga Ivanikov with Council for Cross-Cultural Affairs, representing low-income Russian and Ukrainian communities, full support of the bill.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jim Cooler with the California Center for Youth Development and Health Promotion and the California Friday Night Live Network. And on behalf of young people in 50 of our 58 communities, we support the advancement of positive telecommunication opportunities.
Friendly reminder that there's no applause allowed in committee. But if there's anyone else who wants to speak in support, you can just stand up and we'll recognize you. But going once, going twice. All right, let's go to witnesses in opposition. Please come forward to the table. All right. All right, the floor is yours. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, Chairman Gatto and members of the committee.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Tom Runyon, and I am Vice President of the Communication Workers of America District 9, which includes California, Nevada, and Hawaii. Here in California, we represent more than 53,000 employees in telecommunications, information technology, higher education, news media, broadcast, cable television, healthcare, public service, law enforcement, the airline industry, and manufacturing. I want to make clear that CWA fully supports public policies that encourage investment in high-speed internet networks. High-speed broadband is the critical infrastructure for the 21st century, providing the engine for job creation, economic growth, improvements in education, healthcare delivery, public safety, and civic participation. CWA acknowledges that we are in the midst of a major transition in communications technology, moving from legacy switch circuit to internet protocol networks. This transition promises many benefits, but only if we continue to protect the core values of the communications policy: universal service, consumer protection, public safety, competition, and unfortunately, AB 2395 as currently drafted abandons those values. AB 2395 as currently written would allow a telephone corporation to withdraw voice telephone service to a community after January 1, 2020, with only 90 days advance notice. This bill does not provide for any meaningful public participation in withdrawal requests. Rather, the bill puts the approval process on a 120-day fast track. Moreover, the bill requires the affected customer to seek relief and only gives them 30 days after receiving a withdrawal notice to petition the Commission, and then gives the Commission only 60 days to act on that petition. A better option for consumers would be to have those alternative provider options confirmed by the CPUC as available, reliable, and affordable prior to allowing the withdrawal of service. The bill has only 3 requirements for an alternative provider: the provision of voice service, 911 access, and information about the availability of backup power. The alternative provider would not have to provide services to people with disabilities, lifeline subsidies for people with low-income households, internet access, or meet minimum standards for reliability and quality. The bill could leave many consumers and communities with only wireless and internet access, which is expensive and often unreliable. The bill could leave many consumers and communities with only one choice for communications. Without competitive choice, consumers could see rates go up, service and innovation go down. In addition, the bill could leave California consumers without essential public safety protections. Voice over Internet Protocol, VoIP, services do not provide line power during an electrical outage. AB 2395 simply required the alternative service provider to follow FCC backup battery requirements. The FCC rules have serious gaps. Batteries need only provide a minimum of 8 hours, increasing to 24 hours after 2019. It is up to the customer, not the provider, to purchase the battery at their own expense, and notification need only be at the point of sale. To protect consumers, especially low-income consumers, California should go beyond the FCC minimal backup battery rules to require all VoIP providers, upon consumers' consent, to install a backup battery at the provider's expense with strong advance notice provisions. On the positive side, the bill does mandate that any telephone corporation transitioning to IP-enabled services and networks must complete a customer education and outreach program explaining the IP transition. However, the consumer education and outreach provision in this bill fails to address key changes that consumer must know about. We would recommend that the CPUC provide oversight to ensure a comprehensive outreach and education program, and that the carriers work with community-based organizations, local governments, to disseminate information about the transition. California has a proud history of leadership in protecting consumers and promoting equitable access to telecommunication service, but AB 2395, as currently drafted, would abandon that legacy. This legislation should ensure that any request for withdrawal of legacy service does not leave customers worse off. To achieve this goal, the legislation must set forth clear criteria to determine whether the services provided, alternative providers, are comparable or better than legacy service. This bill fails to address, at a minimum, the FCC proposed criteria for alternative providers, which includes an evaluation of 1, network capacity and reliability, 2, service quality, 3, device and service interoperability, 4, service for individuals with disabilities, 5, PSAP and 911 service, 6, cybersecurity, 7, service functionality, and 8, coverage. In addition, CWA recommends that the affordability defined as comparable pricing be included in the criteria. Finally, CWA believes that the criteria should require that any withdrawal of legacy service does not leave consumers with fewer choices in the number of telecommunications providers that they had prior to the withdrawal. In closing, I want to offer a cautionary tale. Several years ago, after a major hurricane hit the northeastern United States, the legacy provider, Verizon, decided to replace ruined landlines in one community, Fire Island. With a fixed wireless service, the island had no alternative telecommunications provider. Verizon's fixed wireless service, called VoiceLink, was not compatible with health monitors, alarm systems, fax machines, credit card verification, and did not provide internet access. People were up in arms. Fire and law enforcement officials feared for public safety. Business owners lost customers. After months of public outcry, Verizon eventually reversed course and installed all fiber lines. We don't want to see any fire islands in California, leaving communities without access to the 21st century communications after the withdrawal of legacy service. That's why AB 2395 in its current form should be rejected. We can make the technology transition work for everyone, but only with proper public oversight to ensure no one is left behind. Thank you.